Alrighty, I am back with part 2. So for this registration method, you're going to need 2 thumbtacks, pins, whatever you want to call them. You need to be able to pierce a small hole into your wood as well as your paper. So you could use tiny nails. That's essentially what these are, is a piece of plastic around a tiny nail. And what you want to do is take your key block and measure in 2 inches from opposite corners. So I measured that, and then I've already got the registration in here, but and then you want to press your tack into that and then measure up here, and I just use pencil marks to help me get that. You want to make sure you're extremely precise, okay? Beyond extremely precise. And you just want to push those into your blocks. You want them to go down kind of deeply. And then you pull that out, and I take a Sharpie in a different color, and I circle around it so that I can find it again. Particularly this one that's embedded into the background is difficult to see. So once you do that for your key block, then you want to do it for your background block. And it's the same thing. You just measure out your positions. Place your pins in those little spots. And again, go around it with Sharpie in a different color. Sometimes that Sharpie will transfer if it isn't dry yet into your ink. It didn't mess up my ink, but that's just something to be aware of and not be alarmed by it. And then you want to take your stack of paper. Again, make sure they're all exactly the same. And I already have a couple of proofs pulled, and I like to do one sheet where I measure it extremely precisely, and then I use that sheet for the rest of mine. So I'm now going to pierce through the rest of my paper. Make sure you do this on some kind of mat. Just put little tiny holes in my beautiful work table. Now you can see little tiny holes in all of my paper, okay? And then we're gonna use these to help us line up each sheet. So what I've got here is I've already printed my background block and let them dry overnight. So I've got my background prints here, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to print my key image block. And when I print these, everybody, when I lay down my paper, I align it with the edges, and then I put it in the hole to make sure that it's aligned correctly. So I'm using what I call eyeball registration. I can lift up the edges. I'm using what I call eyeball registration, where I'm aligning the edges and then I'm verifying it with the pins, okay? So once you've got your background print or background layer done, you can go ahead and ink up your key block. And I'm just going to flip my work surface. Make sure my block is aligned. And I'm going to ink up my block. So I'm printing here today with Carbon Black Aqua on a blend roll with, I think it's burnt umber. With yellow ochre. And what I'm trying to do is evoke this kind of scorched earth. All right, this is going to take me a little bit to ink up, so I'll be back in a minute.